I sat on the edge of my bed last night, my hand resting on my belly, feeling the soft kicks of the little life growing inside me. The room was quiet but my heart was loud. The shadows on the wall felt heavier than usual, and I caught myself whispering to my baby as if he could already hear me. I told him, "I'll never leave you, even if he did." My name is Emily, I'm 28 years old and I live in a small town in Ohio. From the outside people think my life is simple and calm. They see me walking slowly down the street with my hand on my stomach, buying groceries, smiling politely at neighbors. They see a young woman preparing to be a mother. But what they don't see is the emptiness that follows me home. They don't see the pillow beside me that stays cold every night. When I first found out I was pregnant, I thought it would be the happiest moment of my life. I imagined telling him, my husband, and watching his eyes light up. I imagined us planning names, painting the nursery, holding hands at the doctor's office. That was the dream I carried in my heart. But dreams can turn into lies before you even realize it. At first everything seemed normal. He kissed me on the forehead when he left for work. He smiled when I talked about baby clothes. He even placed his hand on my stomach once and said, "I can't wait." But the truth is, his words were empty. His smiles were rehearsed. I was too blinded by hope to see the cracks forming in our marriage. The hardest part is how normal everything looks from the outside. To my family, we were still the perfect couple. To my neighbors, we were the young married pair starting a family. But inside I was falling apart. Every time I reached for him, I felt him slipping further away. Every time I looked into his eyes, I saw distance instead of love. I used to lie to myself. I told myself he was stressed. I told myself he was tired. I told myself that things would get better once the baby arrived. But deep down I knew. I knew something inside him had already decided to leave. And then he did. One evening, without warning, without a fight, without even tears, he walked out the door. He left me sitting in the kitchen with my hand on my stomach, staring at the chair where he used to sit. He didn't even look back. I thought love was forever. I thought marriage meant safety. But that night, everything I believed in shattered. Last night, I almost broke down completely. But then he asked me something before leaving, something that shattered me even more. Morning comes slowly now. I wake up in a house that feels too big for me, too quiet for what it should be. Sunlight spills across the kitchen counter, but instead of warming me, it feels like it's exposing everything I've lost. I make breakfast for one even though my body is feeding too. I sit at the table alone, my hand on my belly, telling myself I'm strong, even when I don't believe it. From the outside my life looks almost perfect. A neat little home on the edge of town, a well-kept garden out front, curtains that flutter in the morning breeze. Neighbors see me smiling politely, carrying grocery bags, stopping to chat about the weather. They say things like, "You must be so excited for the baby," and I nod, pretending my heart is full. But inside this house, it's a prison dressed in pretty colors. The walls are painted soft yellow, the living room arranged just so, the baby's crib standing ready in the corner. It should feel like hope. Instead it feels like a lie I can't escape. Everywhere I look I see him. The couch where he used to sit with his arm around me. The mug he used for coffee still sitting in the back of the cabinet. The bedroom closet now half empty, with a space that reminds me of his absence every single morning. I try to keep busy. Folding tiny baby clothes, rearranging the nursery, reading books about motherhood. But every task is heavy, every movement feels slow. It's not just pregnancy weighing me down. It's the emptiness he left behind. At night, I remember the small gestures that used to mean everything. The way he kissed my forehead, the way he brought me flowers just because. I replay them in my mind over and over, trying to find the moment when it all changed. Was it when I told him I was pregnant? Was it before that? Or was he always planning to leave and I just refused to see it? One night, while folding his shirts to pack them away, I noticed something tucked in the pocket of his jacket. A folded paper worn at the edges. My hands shook as I opened it. It was a receipt, a hotel reservation, dated weeks before he left. My heart sank. While I was here planning for a baby, he was planning for something else. Or maybe someone else. I sat on the floor of our bedroom holding that piece of paper, unable to breathe. I thought about the nights he came home late, the times he avoided my touch, The way his phone always seemed to be face down on the table. The truth hit me harder than anything. He had already started building a life away from me long before he walked out the door. The baby kicked just then. A sharp, sudden reminder that I was not alone, even if I felt like I was drowning. Tears spilled down my face as I pressed my hand to my stomach. I whispered, "I'm so sorry, little one. I wanted to give you a family. I wanted to give you love." Days turned into weeks and I kept moving, but the weight of that discovery never left me. Every time I looked at his jacket, at that folded receipt, I felt the ground shifting beneath me. My prison wasn't just this house. It was the memories, the promises, the lies I had believed. Friends called sometimes asking how I was doing. I lied the same way I always did. "I'm fine. Just tired." They believed me. They didn't see the tears I wiped away after hanging up. They didn't see the late nights I spent sitting on the nursery floor, staring at the crib, wondering how I would ever do this alone. But the hardest part came a few nights later. I found something else. I was cleaning the kitchen trying to distract myself when I opened the drawer where he used to keep his wallet and keys. Tucked inside was a small envelope. My hands trembled as I pulled it out. Inside was a note written in his handwriting. It said, "I can't do this. I was never ready. I'm sorry." No name. No explanation. Just those words left behind like a wound I couldn't close. I slid down to the floor, clutching the note, my tears falling onto the paper. My heart shattered into pieces I knew I could never put back together. He had walked away from me, from our marriage, from our baby, because he was never ready. That night, I sat by the window, holding the note in one hand and my belly with the other. The baby kicked again, as if reminding me that I wasn't completely abandoned. But the truth cut deeper than anything I had ever known. He didn't just leave me. He left us. The baby moved inside me for the first time, the very same day I found his hidden note, the words that proved he had already chosen to leave us both behind. The night I found his note, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding in my chest, one hand clutching my belly as if holding on to the only part of me that still felt alive. My body was here in this house, but my mind, it wandered back to another time. Another man. Another love I had buried deep inside me, hoping never to feel its sting again. People think running away from pain makes it disappear. But it doesn't. It only hides, waiting for a quiet night like this to come rushing back. Before I met my husband, there was Daniel. He was my first love, the kind of love that makes you believe in forever. I was 22, fresh out of college, full of dreams bigger than my small Ohio town. He was older, confident, the kind of man who could make the whole room stop just by walking in. He made me laugh, he listened to my fears, and when he held me I felt like the safest girl in the world. We talked about marriage. We talked about children. I remember one night sitting in his car, our fingers intertwined as he whispered, "One day we'll have a little house and a little family. Just you and me." But forever turned out to be shorter than I thought. Daniel betrayed me. I'll never forget the night I found out. I walked into a restaurant to surprise him, only to see him sitting at a table with another woman, his hand resting on hers the way it once rested on mine. I froze. My chest tightened. The world blurred. He looked up, his eyes widening with guilt, but I didn't wait for excuses. I turned and walked away, tears blinding me. That night a part of me broke. I swore I would never give my heart so completely again. I built walls around my heart, high and strong, to keep the pain out. But walls don't just keep pain away, they keep love out too. And then came my husband. He wasn't like Daniel. He wasn't charming or loud. He was steady, dependable. He worked a regular job, drove a modest car, spoke softly. He made me feel safe. After the storm Daniel left me, and safety was all I craved. I mistook his calmness for love. I mistook his stability for forever. When he asked me to marry him, I didn't hesitate. I thought, this is it. This is the kind of man who won't break me. I wanted so badly to erase the ghost of Daniel that I rushed into arms that weren't truly holding me. At first, everything seemed fine. We decorated the house together, shared dinners, laughed at silly TV shows. He wasn't passionate, not like Daniel, but I convinced myself passion wasn't what I needed. I told myself I needed peace. And maybe for a while I believed it. But now, sitting in this empty house with a baby inside me and a note in my hand, I can see the truth I refused to face. I never healed. I never stopped loving Daniel. I just buried him under layers of routine, pretending that if I ignored the wound it would stop bleeding. The ghost of my past has haunted every kiss, every touch, every smile in this marriage. I didn't marry for love. I married to forget. And forgetting never lasts. The strangest part? Just days after my husband left, I got a message. A name I hadn't seen in 4 years appeared on my phone screen. Daniel. My hands shook as I opened it. His words were simple, almost casual, but they pierced me like glass. Emily, I heard you're married now. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I dropped the phone, my heart racing. The timing was cruel. Here I was, abandoned, pregnant, broken, and the man I once loved was suddenly reaching out from the shadows of my past. For hours I stared at that message. Part of me wanted to delete it, to erase his voice from my life forever. But another part of me ached to reply, to tell him everything, to fall into the comfort I had been craving for years. I didn't answer. Not then. But the ghost of Daniel lingered, louder than ever. Some nights I sat in the nursery, running my fingers over the soft baby blanket, wondering how different my life might have been if he hadn't betrayed me. Would I be happier? Would I feel loved? Would I be alone right now, or would I have a man by my side, waiting eagerly to meet our child? The truth is I don't know. And maybe I never will. But I do know this. I rushed into a marriage not because I was in love, but because I was afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of facing the truth that Daniel still lived in my heart even after all these years. Now the irony cuts deep. I tried to escape loneliness, and yet here I am, more alone than I ever imagined. I look at the note my husband left behind, and I can almost hear Daniel's voice whispering apologies from the past. 2 men. 2 different stories. But both left me broken. I close my eyes, pressing my hand to my stomach. My baby shifts inside me, reminding me that while men have walked away, this little soul is staying. This child is mine and mine alone. Still, the ghost of Daniel doesn't let me rest. And as I sit here, I realize something terrifying. I never stopped loving him. I just tried to cover that truth with vows I couldn't keep. And now, with my husband gone and Daniel's name glowing on my phone screen, I have to face the question I've avoided for years. What if the person I tried hardest to forget is the one I still love? I buried the past 4 years ago, but the night he left me pregnant, the past came knocking again, this time in the form of a message from the man I swore I'd never forgive. The days after Daniel's message felt like walking through fog. I didn't reply. I couldn't. My hands hovered over my phone 100 times, my heart begging me to type something, anything, but my mind screamed no. What would I even say? I'm pregnant. My husband left me. And I still think about you. The words felt impossible. So I did what I had always done. I pretended. I told myself if I ignored the ghosts, both my husband's absence and Daniel's sudden reappearance, they would go away. I tried to live as if everything was normal. But pretending doesn't heal you. It only makes the silence louder. In the mornings I still made tea, pouring 2 cups out of habit before pouring 1 back into the pot. At the grocery store I smiled when people asked how far along I was. I even laughed when the cashier said, "Your husband must be so excited." My chest ached, but I nodded anyway. Pretending was easier than explaining. But at home the truth pressed in on me. The walls felt smaller. The nursery with its bright yellow paint seemed almost mocking now. The crib waited for a father who would never be there. The tiny clothes folded neatly in drawers felt like costumes for a role I didn't know how to play alone. One afternoon my best friend Claire dropped by. She took one look at me and knew. "Emily," she said softly, brushing my hair back from my face. "You're not okay. You don't have to pretend with me." Her words broke something in me. I burst into tears, my sobs shaking through my body. I told her everything. The note, the hotel receipt, the silence, the nights I spent crying into a pillow. I even told her about Daniel's message, how it haunted me like a voice from another life. Claire held my hand, her eyes full of both sadness and strength. "You can't keep carrying this alone," she whispered. And you can't raise a baby while pretending you're not broken. I wanted to argue to tell her I was fine. But the truth was too heavy. He was right. Pretending had become my survival, but survival is not the same as living. That night, as I sat on the couch replaying her words, I heard something I wasn't expecting. Footsteps in the hallway. My breath caught. For a split second I thought he's back. But it wasn't him. It was just the echo of my own fear. My heart sank deeper than before. Even silence had started to play tricks on me. A week later, I found myself sitting across from my doctor for a routine checkup. She smiled warmly, asking how I was feeling, if I had support at home. The question stung. I forced a smile and said, "Yes. I'm fine." The lie rolled off my tongue so easily I almost believed it myself. But the way she looked at me, like she could see through the mask, made me want to crumble. And then it happened. The twist I had been dreading. One evening I was on the phone with Claire, crying softly, telling her how scared I was to give birth alone. Thought I was safe. I thought the house was mine now, empty and quiet. But as I turned, I saw a shadow by the door. He was standing there. My husband. My breath stopped. I dropped the phone. Claire's voice echoed from the speaker. "Emily? Are you okay?" But I couldn't answer. I was frozen, staring at the man who had walked out on me. He didn't look angry. He didn't look sad. He just looked tired. His eyes flicked to my stomach, then back to me. The silence between us was louder than any scream. "You're still here," I whispered finally. He didn't reply. He just nodded once, as if confirming he was real. And then, without another word, he left again. The door closed behind him and I was alone once more. That night I broke. Completely. I sat on the nursery floor, clutching the baby blanket to my chest, sobbing until my throat was raw. The truth slammed into me with a force I couldn't deny anymore. Pretending would never save me. I had been pretending for years. Pretending Daniel didn't haunt me, pretending my marriage was strong, pretending I was fine without love. And now I was pretending I could handle this abandonment alone. But silence has a way of forcing you to listen. I looked at myself in the mirror, my face streaked with tears, my belly round and heavy. For the first time I said the words out loud. "I'm not okay. But I will be. For you." I pressed my hand to my stomach. My baby kicked as if answering me. The world outside kept spinning. Neighbors still waved, people still asked about the baby, life still looked normal from the outside. But inside I knew I had reached a breaking point. I could no longer live in lies. And yet, just as I decided to stop pretending, another storm rose inside me. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Daniel's name appeared on the screen again. Second message. "Emily, I still think about you. Can we talk?" My breath caught. My hands shook. The ghost of the past and the ruins of the present collided inside me. 2 men, 2 wounds, 2 unfinished stories. And me, caught in the middle, carrying a life that deserved more than broken promises and unfinished love. I closed my eyes, the phone heavy in my hand. I didn't know what to do. But one thing was certain. Pretending was no longer an option. That night I realized the silence wasn't just around me, it was inside me. And silence can't raise a child. That's when I knew something had to break. For weeks I carried his silence like a weight strapped to my chest. My husband had appeared in the doorway that night only to leave again, and the image replayed in my mind over and over. The way his eyes lingered on my stomach, the way his mouth stayed shut when I whispered, "You're still here." It was worse than anger, worse than shouting. It was absence wrapped in flesh. But something in me shifted after that night. Maybe it was Claire's words echoing in my head, maybe it was the second message from Daniel, or maybe it was the baby kicking as if reminding me, "You can't carry this silence forever." Whatever it was, I knew I couldn't live trapped in questions anymore. I needed answers. Even if they destroyed me. So one rainy afternoon I called him. My hands shook as I held the phone, my voice barely above a whisper. "We need to talk." There was a long pause on the other end, a sigh heavy enough to press against my ribs. Then quietly he said, "Okay." We met at a small diner on the edge of town, the kind of place where the lights buzz faintly and the coffee tastes like it's been sitting for hours. I sat in a booth by the window, staring at the rain sliding down the glass, my heart pounding. When he walked in, he looked older somehow. Not in years, but in spirit. His shoulders slumped, his face tired, his eyes carrying a sadness I couldn't read. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Then finally I said it. The truth I had been swallowing for months. You left me. You left us. He flinched, his jaw tightening. He looked down at his hands, fidgeting with the edge of a napkin. I know, he whispered. The words cut me. Not because he admitted it, but because he said it so quietly, so simply, as if walking away from your pregnant wife could ever be something to whisper about. Why? My voice cracked. Why did you do it? He closed his eyes for a moment, then looked at me. And what he said next broke me in ways I never imagined. I was never ready to be a father. Tears stung my eyes. My hand went instinctively to my stomach as if shielding the baby from his words. You didn't even try, I whispered. He shook his head, his voice trembling. I did try, Emily. I tried to picture it, holding the baby, staying up at night, being what you needed. But every time I looked at you, I saw fear in myself. Not in you, in me. I realized I was already gone before the baby ever came. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the coffee mug against the wall and make him feel the shattering inside me. But instead I just sat there, silent, tears rolling down my face. Because deep down I had always known. His distance, his late nights, the lies I told myself, they had all been signs. Why didn't you tell me? I asked softly. His voice cracked. Because I didn't want to see the look on your face. The one you're giving me right now. We both sat in silence after that, the kind of silence that isn't empty but heavy, filled with everything words can't carry. Finally I whispered, I loved you. I believed in you. He looked at me, his eyes glistening. I know. And that's why I left. Because I couldn't give you what you deserved. I couldn't give our child what they deserve. His words felt like knives coated in kindness, gentle but deadly all the same. There was no anger in his voice, no hatred. Just sorrow. And maybe that was what hurt the most. If he had been cruel, I could have hated him. But he wasn't. He was broken. And broken people break others even when they don't mean to. I wiped my tears and stood slowly. My legs trembled, but I forced myself to look at him one last time. I don't need perfect, I whispered. I just needed you. He looked down, unable to meet my eyes. And that was my answer. I picked up my coat, slid out of the booth and walked toward the door. The bell above it jingled softly, a cruel contrast to the storm raging inside me. As I reached for the handle, his voice stopped me. Emily. I turned, my heart in my throat. Thank you, he said quietly, for not lying one last time. The words nearly buckled my knees. I stumbled out into the rain, the cold drops mixing with the heat of my tears. I walked to my car, clutching my belly, whispering to my baby, it's just us now. Just us. And for the first time I felt both heartbreak and clarity in the same breath. The marriage was over. The man I thought would stay had already left long before the door closed. All I had left was myself, and the child growing inside me. I thought telling him the truth would set me free. But as I walked away, I realized freedom doesn't erase pain. It only makes space for it to finally breathe. It's been 3 months since that conversation in the diner. 3 months since I walked out into the rain and told myself it was just me and my baby now. And now it really is. My son Noah was born on a quiet Tuesday morning. The hospital room was cold, the beeping machines steady, my hands trembling as I held him for the first time. His tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and in that moment I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Wholeness. He didn't cry much, just small, soft whimpers as if he knew his mother had already cried enough for both of them. I pressed him against my chest, tears sliding down my cheeks, whispering, we made it. Just you and me. We made it. The days that followed were hard. Sleepless nights, endless feeding, exhaustion that seeped into my bones. There were moments I thought I couldn't do it, moments I wished for someone to share the weight. But then Noah would open his eyes, blue like mine, and everything felt possible again. The house feels different now. Still quiet, still too big, but not empty anymore. His cries echo through the halls, his laughter, the little giggles he makes in his sleep, fills the silence that once haunted me. My prison has turned into something else. A place of survival, a place of healing, a place where new life grows, even in the ashes of what was lost. Some nights I still think about him, my husband. I wonder if he ever regrets leaving. I wonder if he imagines Noah's face, if he ever thinks about the life he walked away from. I don't know if he does. And maybe I'll never know. One afternoon, while cleaning the drawer where I once found his note, I discovered something I had missed before. A small box tucked away in the corner. Inside was a photo of us on our wedding day, and on the back in his handwriting were 2 words, "Forgive me." I sat there holding the photo, my son sleeping in the next room, tears slipping quietly down my cheeks. For a long time I thought forgiveness meant letting him back into my heart. But now I see it differently. Forgiveness is setting myself free. Free from the lies, the pretending, the ghosts of the past. Free to raise my son without bitterness chaining me down. So I placed the photo back in the box, closed it gently and tucked it away. Not as a wound but as a reminder of what I survived. Today I walk with Noah in the stroller through the park. Neighbors smile, children wave, the world spins on like it always has. People see a young mother with her baby and maybe they think the picture is perfect. They don't see the storms I walked through to get here. They don't see the nights I almost gave up. But maybe that's okay. Because Noah doesn't need to know the pain that brought him here. He just needs to know he was wanted, he was loved, and he gave his mother a reason to live again. Sometimes late at night when the house is quiet and Noah is asleep on my chest, I whisper to him, "Your father left me while I was pregnant. But you, my love, you stayed. You saved me." And maybe that's the lesson hidden in all of this. That even when people leave, life has a way of giving us new reasons to hold on. If you've ever felt abandoned, if you've ever cried into the silence of your own home, wondering how you'll make it through, please know this. You are not alone. Pain doesn't last forever. Hearts do heal. And sometimes, the life you thought ended is only the beginning of something new. He left me while I was pregnant, but my son gave me back the pieces of myself I thought were gone forever. And if you've ever felt like me, please tell me your story in the comments. I'll be here listening.